let's take one question from the audience here. Why is it that Allah guides some people and not others? Pretty common theological question, but a very important one, because people look around and say, why is some people guided, some people not?
It's down to the choice that they take. Now this is interesting. This does get there are some differences of opinion among the ulama about what this signifies. But the verse that I quoted earlier from Surah Al-A'raf, 7th chapter, verse 172, where Allah gathered all of humanity and said, "Alastu bi rabbikum qalu bala shahidna." Imam Ibn al-Jawzi, right, the big Hanbali scholar, in his tafsir of that ayah, he says that some people meant it and some people didn't. Right, so everyone said "Bala shahidna," but not everyone said it with sincerity. And then that's when the decision was made, and then that's what plays out in this world. Now, what happens after that is we have to have this discussion about, okay, what is, and this is where there's a difference of opinion, what is the ruling on children of unbelievers who die, right? Are they believers or not? So the latter-day Asharis, and especially from like Imam an-Nawawi onwards, they're going to say they're forgiven, right? But Imam an-Nawawi, and I believe I read this in his Sharh Sahih Muslim, he said, but the majority position, and this goes back earlier generations, was that you don't know, right? We don't know, and they quote a hadith, and this is also mentioned by Imam Abu Bakr al-Ajuri in his book Kitab al-Sharia, right? He's a 4th century scholar. There's a hadith about how when the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said something to the effect of, you don't know what they would have done had they lived.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So it's an unknown thing. So what that all would entail, what that would all lead towards, again, is that decision was made back before these people entered the world. That decision was made there and then. When Allah said, "Alastu bi rabbikum qalu bala shahidna," some people meant it, some people didn't. So it's not the case of jabr. We're not jabari. We don't believe Allah just force people to believe or not to believe. It's like that decision was made before anyone came into this world, right? And that's why therefore when you understand that, you understand that Allah is most just and Allah is most wise. What you understand that is that we don't panic so much about people, like, will they become Muslim, will they not become Muslim, right? Some people get really like anxious about the fact that they like, for example, someone you might have someone who's not a Muslim and he shows interest in Islam, that people go, oh, we need to talk to him quickly. Get him to jihad. It's like, well, no. Listen, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, right? I've said this to many of my students. We don't have, a Muslim storybook called, like, the Kafir that got away. Yeah. It doesn't exist, right? It's like, he slipped through our fingers. Like, no, if he's going to become a Muslim, he'll become a Muslim. If not, right? Your duty is, well, ma'alayna balagh mubin, right? Like, you convey the message as clearly as you can, and then you leave it to Allah. Yeah. So you don't panic about this, and therefore, again, we don't stress about, oh, is it fair? No. What Allah does is justice. Mm-hmm. What Allah does is the very definition of justice. There's no standard that Allah has to subscribe to or follow. No, what Allah does is the very definition of justice, and we trust in that. But again, people, individual arwah, individual spirit, they made that decision, whether they believe or not.
They jabbered themselves then. We jabbered ourselves. Yeah. So I'd like to add another thing too, is that Allah does guide everybody by sending them revelation, from the sense of guidance, meaning pointing you to the truth, giving you another day to live the truth, or to seek the truth. All that is a guidance that everyone receives. Yeah. Now it's up to you to accept it or reject it. And for those who never received it, they're forgiven. Because they never received it. But if a person did receive it, that is Allah's guidance to everybody. Just like a teacher says, I have office hours at this hour. You're in class, she's given the instruction and having office hours. It's up to you to pay attention and to go to office hours. When you fail, it's not she who failed you. She didn't force you to fail, right? That's how we should look at it. Allah Ta'ala did guide everybody. He's Tawwab. One of the meanings of that is he gives you the opportunity to make Tawbah. He gives you the ability to take. It could have been one strike, you're out. Imagine that. But he gives you the opportunity to make Tawbah. He gives you another day to make Tawbah. Makes it easy for you. Tawbah is repentance. So that's, and an important question to answer, and appreciate. Yeah.
Just to add to that is also the fact that, again, like Allah doesn't enforceably guide anyone. That's the thing that we want to make clear, is that, again, I think I made this before, that the amount of proof, the proof that exists for Allah's existence in the truth of Islam, again, is just right. It's just the right amount, right? Anything less, people have an excuse. Anything more, people would be coerced. Allah wants you to come to Him lovingly and willingly. So, like you're saying, that's what people like they have. Like you said, people have. There's enough there for people to draw their own conclusions.
And it's so important. I've never heard anyone make this distinction except you, that there could be excess proof. Then you'd never know who's telling the truth, who's doing it willingly, right?
Yeah.
Like when there's just it's not just coercion of physical force, it's the proofs and the indicators. If there was literally a voice from the sky say, "I'm your Lord, I'm about to make it night." Click, it turns night. Now it's day.
Or then, pray Fajr now, or pray Maghrib now, or whatever. Yeah.
Then that would be a level of proof that would be almost at the level of the sun rises from the east, right?
Yeah.
Can anyone, whether you like it or not refuse to admit that the sun rises from the east? No one can refuse. So we don't know who's loving and who's not. There will be no love in that. Nobody says the sun rises from the east because they love it. It's a fact whether you like it or not. So therefore, by actually decreasing some of the divine indicators of the divine, now it gives us the opportunity to search for them and to willingly accept it, right? So now we're showing love. On top of that, when the dictates from this creator come down that are not always to our liking. So we always say Islam is the best way of living for you. Yes, but it also contains what you don't like. It contains something nobody likes. I mean, your nature is to look at the opposite gender. Your nature is to get men's attention with the beauty Allah gave you. Well, both genders are told, don't do this, right? We're all told things we can't do that we want to do. That gives us the chance to actually express love by doing something we don't want to do, or avoiding something that we do want to do. So the presence of these things in our religion and in our deen are so important because they give you an opportunity to show love. Love cannot be shown when it's a one-way street of success, victory, and clarity all the time. And I think you're really one of the first people to mention that. And that's an important point to bring up when people say, well, where's the proof? Well, He's made it enough and not too much so that you have to look for it. In the process of doing so, you may develop some love of God and show and take a leap for the sake of God. So that's extremely important here, to separate between this knowledge and regular demonstrable knowledge, like